We are talking lipstick today. My lips are as moisturized as they get. I have dry lips, guys. I'm doing my best. So we have the new Tom Ford relaunched lipsticks. I've talked about these in a blog type video. I posted on Instagram about them. I also have the new Tom Ford liners. I also have the new Celine lipstick. I feel like I should have like monumental music here. This actually hasn't launched yet, and the rest of the shades are not going to launch until 2025. But I do have the first shade in the collection, Rouge Triomphe, and it's number 01. It is a red shade. Don't worry, I'll get to all of this. Rouge Triomphe being red, and Triomphe is the Celine design that we see everywhere. So I wanted to have a shade that would be similar to the Rouge Triomphe in comparison on the Tom Ford side. So I picked up Scarlet Rouge, and I'm really glad that I did. Angelina Jolie, who is the face of the relaunch, just showed up at the Venice Film Festival wearing Tom Ford makeup and Scarlet Rouge. Now, my lips are not going to compare to hers, but at least you can see the same shade. Again, I'll compare it to the Celine. I'll compare it to the old Tom Ford Scarlet Rouge. I also want to compare it to the Chanel Rouge 31, which I don't actually have in a super red kind of shade, but I do have it in a shade that is somewhat red. I think it'll work. We can work with it. So, because really what we're doing is comparing formulas, not really the shades. Let's start with the Tom Ford. These are $52, as I mentioned in one of my videos, and they are 0.12 ounces, which is 3.5 grams. The shelf life on these, well, I shouldn't assume. I'm gonna say it's 6 months because everything is like 6 months now. But by the way, these are made in Belgium, which I think is interesting. Not made in Italy, made in Belgium. I don't see a shelf life. That is fascinating. I'm either missing it. Guys, I'm either missing it or the stickers are over it somehow, but I don't see a shelf life. I don't know what to tell you there. The liners are made in Italy. I don't know why the lipsticks are made in Belgium and the liners are made in Italy, but that is the case. And they are 0.04 ounces. I also do not see a shelf life. The Dior liners are 0.04 ounces, so exactly the same. They both include sharpeners, but the Tom Ford one is metal, or at least it seems like metal. It's much heavier. And the Dior one is plastic. I don't see a shelf life on the Dior either. That's fascinating. It could be that the stickers are just over it. That's possible. The sales stickers, but I don't know what to tell you. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to swatch these 3 shades on my hand. These are the lipsticks. And then we'll do the same with the Celine. I will put each one on my lip so you can see what it looks like on my lips. And then we'll do the same thing with the liners. My lips will probably look a little rough by the end. So I'm starting with the lightest color, going to the deepest. The first shade, I have to say, there were many shades that I was really attracted to. There's a number of new shades. When I say new, they're not like Scarlet Rouge is an existing shade and it's been reformulated, but there are a bunch of new shades. One I got is called Stunner, it's number 11, and the other one is West Coast, and it's N3. Again, I don't have the details on the purpose of the N or what that means yet. I think it's neutral, but anyway, I'll have more details for you later as these actually launch. So West Coast is N3 and Stunner is 11. So let's do Stunner first. Yeah, it's really nice. It's a warm rose brown, has a little bit of red to it. And then West Coast is more of that rosewood shade. And then Scarlet Rouge is an existing shade, which is a beautiful red. That's Scarlet Rouge, and I'm gonna put the old Scarlet Rouge next to it so you can see. Now, I don't have a big Scarlet Rouge, but I have a tiny one. Oh, interesting. Yeah, the formula is definitely different. Okay. So again, here's Stunner, here's West Coast, here is the new Scarlet Rouge, and here's the old one. There is a tiny difference in shade. It's not dramatic, but it's there. The old lipstick is creamier and heavier. The new one's lighter in weight. It's like a thinner formula. It's silkier than the old one. All right, so let's take the Celine. So this is the case, and I have to say, it's pretty beautiful. So it has Celine on the front, in the middle there. It has the Triomphe logo on the top. It has the gold all the way around in like an octagonal kind of space. That's the shade. It is a true beautiful red. Do this one later. Let's start with the lightest Tom Ford. All right, so I'd say West Coast is actually the lightest. That's N3. What a beautiful shade. I'm so glad I picked this one up. So that's this one here. And remember I said on my hand it had sort of like a rosewood, which it does, but it's mauvier than that. Oh, what a pretty shade that one is. Yeah, that one's really nice. So this is West Coast N3. Very silky, very smooth. I'm trying to see if there's any smell. I don't smell anything. I don't smell any scent. Let me just look at the box. There's squalene in here. There's japonica, Camellia japonica seed oil. There's a bunch of different oils in here. Muru seed butter. There's castor seed oil. There's lanolin oil. A lot of different oils in here. There is fragrance. It's about halfway down the box, but there is fragrance. I don't smell anything though. Okay, if you get really close, and I'm about to put lipstick on my nose. If you get really close, there's a slight vanilla. I have to breathe it in to get it though, but there is a slight vanilla. Oh, this might be my new favorite shade. That is beautiful. West Coast. That's what it looks like on the hand. Definitely looks better on the lips than it does on the hand. Okay, now I'm gonna do Stunner. Stunner. These are like the Tom Fords of old. These are good, guys. That's Stunner. It's stunning. It has a little warmth, a little brown to it, but again, that's what it looks like on my hand. And this is on the lips. Oh, it's so good. It feels good. If these stay on the lips and don't settle too much into lines, I have no lip liner on. That is a great shade. But these are both new shades, so these are both, in my opinion, these are both winners. Like just immediately the shades. Shoot. I don't need a new $50 obsession. Okay, now we're gonna go to the red. Okay, takes a lot to get these off in between. Scarlet Rouge, guys. Here we go. Kind of makes me want to wear red. So I can tell you right now, the difference between this formula and the old formula. The old formula is heavier. It's like thicker than this. This is a thinner, silkier formula. It's also more hydrating. I think it's all the oils that are in here. The old formula was your typical cream formula. I mean, it's a great formula, but it's, you know, it's not hydrating, and I had dry lips. I have dry lips. So this is much more emollient than the old ones. The shine on this, I don't know if the camera is picking that up. Shine on this is impressive for a lipstick. Yeah, that's pretty. And of course it makes your teeth look whiter. Then, yeah, that's a nice red. Scarlet Rouge. Yeah, the old Scarlet Rouge is a little pinker. This has a little bit more red. Can you see, like, the old one as it settled in? See how this looks a little cooler? This one's a tiny bit warmer. Interesting. So Scarlet Rouge is a little bit redder. The old one had a little more pink to it. Not a lot, just a tiny, tiny bit. This one's a little redder, like true red. So let's try this Celine now that you have this picture in your mind. That red was not easy to get off. Okay, so this is the Celine Rouge Triomphe. And it has a more, can you see how slanted the tip is? Like compared to the Tom Ford, for example, or compared to really, I think, any lipstick. It looks more, it's a more angled cut. Do you see that? This one's creamier. See how it doesn't glide? Which isn't bad, guys. It's just a very different formula. Rouge Triomphe. It's a beautiful red. It's a stunning, stunning red. Let's put it. Okay. So here's the new Tom Ford. Here's the old. And here's the Celine. Can you see the Celine, first of all, is a cooler shade than both of these, than the old and the new. But also how much thicker, you can see it. This is much more luminous and shiny, and the Celine is more of a creamy, almost, it's not matte by any means, but it has a very different finish. Can you see, like, when I turn my hand, look at the difference in the finish. That's really interesting. Yeah, it's a completely different formula than the Tom Fords. Now, the question will be, are the Tom Fords so smooth, so silky that they settle into lines over the day? Again, I don't have an answer for you yet because I've only used them like twice, and that's not enough time. I need more time than that. The Celine is refillable. It is refillable, and made in France, 0.12 ounces. It is refillable. So I'm gonna assume as I break it, hold on. Yeah, there we go. So the case, I'm assuming when they come out, when they've launched the full line, we'll be able to get the case and then the refills. The lipstick as it stands right like this was 62 pounds. So, you know, depending on the conversion, how much it would be. It is more expensive than the Tom Fords. Tom Fords are not refillable though. These are just the standard Tom Ford cases. So the difference between the two, I think, is fairly obvious in the formula. There's luminescence to the Celine. I'm not saying there isn't, but this is much shinier. The Tom Ford is much shinier, and it is much thinner. Like, it is a silkier, smoother, oilier formula and more comfortable on the lip. The Celine is heavier. It doesn't feel bad, it doesn't feel drying, but it is a much heavier feel. The interesting thing, like I said, will be, does this stay better and does it not travel? Because The more liquid something gets, the more oily something gets, the more likely it is to go into lines if you have them. That's a thing. Now, the Chanel, this is the Rouge 31. I pulled out a satin. This is not the new matte formula. I pulled out a satin because I wanted you to see. Interesting. Okay, so the Chanel is much more like the Celine. Much more like the Celine. Whereas the Tom Ford, like, can you see what I mean? It's a thinner formula and more silky. The Chanel is very much like the Celine, where it's a heavier formula, very creamy and satiny. Satiny was the word I was looking for before. Satiny, not really luminescent. And this shade, by the way, is Rouge Faux in the Rouge 31. It's a beautiful shade. So it's going to be really interesting to test all of these out and compare. This, of course, is the most expensive one, the Chanel, because of the case. But alone, they're $90. I have to say, the two new shades from Tom Ford blew me away. The shades are stunning. The formula is incredibly, I've said this like 9 times, incredibly silky. Just like, I barely touched my lips. It just like flew on and very comfortable. But I will say I'm a little concerned that it will travel into my lines because of the fact that it is so lightweight and silky. However, they did just also, just released their lip liners, which maybe they're meant to be used with the lip liner. And we'll talk about the lip liners in just one sec. All right, so I'm going to leave the Celine on as we talk about the new lip liners. And then, of course, I will show you the lip liners by themselves so you know the shades on my lips. I do have the new Dior here as well because I just want to use that as a comparison when we're talking about these new Tom Fords, because these are all in similar price points, overall. And this is the sharpener that comes with the Dior, and this is the sharpener that comes with the Tom Ford. And like I said, this one, the Tom Ford one, is metal. It is actually relatively heavy, even though it is smaller, and the Dior one is plastic. I don't know if that matters to you, but just something to note. The Dior liners also have the brush on the end. The Tom Ford liners do not have anything on the end. They just have the cap. They also have a little bit of a different top. The Dior's have the same kind of top, but can you see that the Tom Fords are smaller? Like in their, see that? It's just kind of interesting. All right. The same size though. They're exactly the same size. 0.04 ounces for the Tom Ford, and the Dior is also 0.04 ounces. So they're exactly the same size, even though they might look a little bit different. Okay, so I'm gonna choose one Tom Ford liner and then we'll just talk about formula because these colors are all very, very different. This is shade A-List. It's number 106. And honestly, this is the smoothest, silkiest liner outside of the Victoria Beckham eyeliners, which is, a very different product. It's the smoothest. I've never had anything glide like this in a liner before. That's pretty amazing. It's very much like the lipsticks that just glide on. The Dior, this is Grège Attitude. The shade, just the name called to me. But let's see. Yeah, this is creamier. It's not as silky. It feels really nice though. Feels like a good lip liner. And I've worn them. They wear well. I do like them. Now this is Chanel. This is the old Chanel. Not super old, but not the new ones. Again, creamier. You can even see it in the way that it goes on. It's just a creamier feel. The Dior's are extremely good and last. Makeup by Mario. Yeah, that's definitely a thicker, creamier feel. Again, not as silky. Lisa Eldridge, this is her original Lisa Eldridge pencils, not her. Creamy, a little drier, and not as opaque. Sisley. Now, Sisley were the ones that in the day were my favorite liners of all time. I'm going to sharpen this one a little bit. The Sisley shade that I cannot remember the name of right now, Chocolate. is like one of my favorites ever. So I'm gonna put it next to, I'm gonna try it next to the new Tom Ford and see what I think. It's much creamier, it's not as silky. Interesting. Okay. Sorry, this was Charlotte Tilbury. That wasn't Lisa Eldridge, my brain. And then this is Lisa Eldridge. Again, very creamy. So every single one of these liners is actually a really good lip liner. I like all of these. Again, these are Dior, Chanel, Makeup by Mario, Charlotte Tilbury, Sisley, and Lisa Eldridge. I would say if you went with any one of these, they're good lip liners, really. They're creamy, they last. My favorite is still the Sisley. I think it's the most durable. The new Dior, I'm gonna have to test out a little bit more to see how durable that is. The Charlotte Tilbury is the most waxy. So if you're looking for a real border, you know, I'd go with the Charlotte Tilbury because those are the original ones, super waxy, and they kept everything on pretty tightly. The Lisa Eldridge ones, I really like. I think they're super creamy and they work really well. And then the Makeup by Mario ones, also really good formula, very creamy and a much lower price point than like the Tom Fords or the Dior's or the Chanel's or the Sisleys, come to think of it. The Tom Ford though, guys, this is a very different liner. This is a silky liner. It's the smoothest thing I've ever seen. Now, the question will be again, does it keep the lines? Like, does it keep, you know, throughout the day? What I have tried thus far, it has, and it's been really good. It's also super pigmented. So yeah, my initial thoughts is that it's not like any of these other liners. Just in the feel of it. It's silkier. It's thinner almost. It's different. It's just different. It's a different kind of formula than any other lip liner I have. The Sisley, like being my favorite, again, the Sisley is creamier. It's heavier. This new one by Tom Ford is lighter, thinner, and doesn't feel as heavy on the lips, and it feels silky. I also have to say I've been wearing this Celine lipstick for a while. This thing hasn't budged. And it still feels really nice. Literally, it has not moved. It hasn't moved. Like, it's not in any lines. I'm in a 10x mirror. Nothing. Okay, let me take the Celine off, and I'm gonna do each shade of the Tom Ford liners on my lips, my full lips, so you can see the shades. The area around my mouth is like, why? Why are you doing this to me? Okay, let's start with what I think is the lightest shade. I could be wrong. Let's try it. 101. This is Close Up. Yeah, this sucker glides. No drag, none. And my lips are dry at this point because I've been taking off how many shades at this point? Yeah, there's no drag, none. So now that it's on my lips, it's like dried down. It's like set. Doesn't feel drying. It's just that it goes from being super silky and like you can just draw with it to feeling more like a lip liner. Still lighter, but it feels like it's not gonna come off. Do you know what I mean? Like a lip liner should. So that's the color so you can see it. And I'm just gonna put West Coast on over it because I'm curious. Oh, that's nice. It almost looks like Sugar Glider, a little bit. Next one is 103 Irresistible. Yeah, it's so easy to put on, like a lipstick almost. But then when it goes on your lips, like I said, it stops, like it takes like a couple seconds and it kind of sinks in and creates more of this feeling of, you know, like it's set. Okay, last one, 106. 106, this is A-List. And that's A-List. It's a pretty shade. Yeah, it's definitely like it becomes set. Almost like, that's fascinating. As soon as it hits the skin, it settles. It's no longer silky. It's like it's not coming off. But it's not drying. That's really interesting. So, one last thing before I give you final thoughts. I want to take this microfiber towel. Ready? Here we go. We're just going to go on each shade. So I think you can see the winners here are the new Dior and the new Tom Ford. You notice they didn't move. Neither one of them moved at all. They didn't smudge. Especially the Tom Ford. The Dior has a tiny, tiny smudge. But some of these almost came off. This one smudged. This is Lisa Eldridge. The Sicily smudged a lot. The Tom Ford didn't even move. That's interesting considering how silky it was to put on. But yeah, it sets. It's really interesting. Sorry, you have to, I think you're just gonna have to experience it for yourself. But as long as these stay like this one has so far, I think these are gonna be my new favorite liners, guys. Honestly, they glide on and they then stay, like they stick. I picked up 3 shades. I think there's 8. As long as it continues to work like it's been working, I might pick up all the shades. It's that good. This is like me talking about the Dolce & Gabbana powder, although that was limited edition. Supposedly these are permanent, so don't rush out and buy every liner. I wasn't trying to encourage you to do that, but I just mean like that kind of reaction. This is that good. Okay, I'm impressed, Tom Ford. The lipsticks are the same kind of thing. They're super smooth glide. How they last and how they, settle lines, that just takes longer because you have to try it on different days and different humidity levels and different skin, because the lipstick is silkier because it's a lipstick. So far, I can tell you though, I think they're fantastic. If you suffer from dry lips especially, because they're so smooth, they're so easy to put on, I really like them. The 2 shades, the new shades that I tried today, Stunner and West Coast, absolute favorites, the shades already, and I have only had them for a couple days. The Celine is really good as well. Like the formula is very different. It reminds me of the Chanel, but I love the Rouge 31 formula. It's just that it's incredibly expensive. The Celine is 62 pounds for the case and the lipstick. I don't know what it's going to be for just the refill. And I don't know I know it's the beginning of the year when new shades are coming, but I don't have any more details than that. So it is cheaper than the Chanel. I don't know how many shades there will be. At the moment, these are just satins. I don't know if they'll be mattes. Again, that information is coming. But if you like the Rouge Triomphe shade, I can honestly tell you the formula is amazing. It's really beautiful. And if the $62 pounds is in your price range, I would certainly recommend that lipstick. I think it's really, Celine did a great job. The one thing I didn't mention though, it does have a stronger fragrance than the Tom Ford. It's roses. It's a rose fragrance. It's not as strong as the Chanel, but it's strong. So if that bothers you, I mean, it dissipated pretty much immediately, but when you put it on, when you open the lipstick, you can smell it. The Tom Fords have a slight vanilla, and I have a really acute sense of smell. Like things that smell really strong to me, other people don't even notice. So my sense, if I say something is really strong, it might just be just average for another person. But I'm very cognizant of mentioning things like that because I suffer from migraines and I always want to be very cognizant. Other people who suffer from migraines or allergies usually have a heightened sense of smell as well. So that's why I always make sure to mention that. Plus I think it's just something we should mention. But the Tom Ford is very light. It's a very light vanilla. I had to literally almost shove the lipstick up my nose to smell it. The Celine is definitely stronger, and the Chanel 31, there's practically nothing there. If there is a fragrance, it's very hard for me to even smell it. So, yeah, those are my thoughts, guys. Tom Ford, you know, I've been very disappointed in Tom Ford for the last several years. I don't know if this lipstick relaunch and liner launch is a full redemption, but it's certainly a step in the right direction because both these products are excellent. And the Tom Ford liners, I don't want to use the word revolutionary because it's too soon, but I in the years that I have been using and trying makeup, I have never had a lip liner that was that smooth to put on and then set in a way that made me feel secure that it was going to stay. Never. So, those are my thoughts. I'd love to hear if you're even considering picking these up or what your thoughts are on all the things I talked about today. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it, and I hope to see you in another video really soon.